Welcome back to The Internationalist. Today we will be going over what to bring on a Southeast Asia backpacking trip. Now, the first and most important thing, of course, is the backpack. So mine's Black Wolf backpack, about 35 litres. It's perfect for going for multiple weeks while travelling. It's got plenty of pockets, got a bit of back padding, which is ideal for if you're going to be carrying it around all day. Now, a backpack this size should be able to do you on the smaller trips under a month, a couple of weeks. But I've also lived out of this pack before for 8 to 12 months, and it's perfectly sufficient. You just have to adjust what you're packing based on where you're traveling. So, in Southeast Asia, it's a bit more humid. You're going to be seeing humid afternoons after the rain, and then you're also just going to have just straight heat. At the moment this week in Vietnam, it's been 35 each day roughly with high humidity, but not much rain. So let's get into what to bring. So first off, socks and jocks. They're the most important thing for you to have plenty of clean. You don't want wet socks, you don't want wet jocks, you want to be able to change them consistently and daily. So this is just an example. So for a week, for a month, even for 6 months, the big thing that you're going to adjust is how many socks and jocks you're bringing. So for 8 to 10 days, you're going to want 6, 7 pairs of jocks, 3 to 8 pairs of socks, because it depends on what you're used to wearing. I normally wear sneakers and thongs. So if you're going to be in your thongs every day, like I am, then you won't need as many pairs of socks. But if you're going to be doing a lot of hiking, it's important to have a spare pair that you can change into after each hike, because the humid nature of the weather here, your feet are going to get wet and sweat a lot. Next, you know it's going to be hot, but plane rides get cold. Sometimes the night might get cold if you're in a bit of air conditioning, which I know is ironic, but it is true. You're going to want a thin jumper. It's not too thick, thin jumper to bring. For me, it's the North Face jumper. I've got a couple of black ones, a brown one. It's totally up to you what color, of course. But it's not too thick, it's fleeced, it's warm, and it will do the job if you're a little bit cold in this climate. It's perfect. Next, shorts. That's going to be important. Shorts, dresses, it doesn't matter what you're going to be wearing. You don't want them to be thick and heavy. You want them to breathe. So for me, you're looking at 10 days. So 4 pairs of shorts. Each pair of shorts will last you about 2 days. That's perfectly fine. You can always do washing. There's plenty of laundromats. So for me, I've got a nicer pair of shorts if I'm going to go out somewhere a bit more formal to eat. Then I've got swim shorts, which don't have to just be swimming. They also double up as just normal shorts, of course. My everyday walking shorts, which are these 2 pairs. They breathe, they're quick to dry, and you can rotate through them. It's ideal. Next up, especially in Southeast Asia, where you're going to probably be visiting a temple, you're going to want to bring a thin pair of pants which cover your knees, because it's they won't let you into some of the temples if you're not wearing the correct things. So girls, that means shoulders covered. Same for the guys, no singlets, and you're going to want to have something thin that will breathe easily to go over the knees. Next up, t-shirts. Now this is an important one, which people do forget to consider. You want t-shirts that can breathe, which dry reasonably well, and don't stain from the sweat, because you're going to be sweating and building up a lot of sweat. And if you don't mind too much, buy a few plain t-shirts. So this is just from Uniqlo. I always buy them. You buy it, you wear it on your trip. It's $20. You throw it out if it doesn't look so good when you get back, or it comes on the next trip. These dry well, they're pretty heavy, so they do actually keep you a little bit warm if that's something that you need. Good mixture of colors, but also you got to focus on the fabric. You want it light and can dry. That's what you're going for, not quick dry tops. Those night quick dry tops, they're atrocious. You don't need them. You want the cotton fabrics. Alrighty, next, of course, a singlet. Because when you're hiking, if you're going on a long hike in the middle of nowhere, you're going to want just that little bit more breathing. Anything that will let air in to help cool you down, but you probably only need one of these. And for strolling around a campsite or your Airbnb, it's perfect. And it's just good to have. You never know where you're going to end up. Quick dry towel. Look at how tiny it is. Literally, pocket towel. Now, what are we saying? Oh, that's perfect. This one you don't really wash, which is kind of ironic, but they're cheap enough that you can throw them out after they start to get smelly. Just make sure not to get these saturated. But these are very important to have with you, especially if you're going to be going hiking. It's good to just quickly go wipe yourself over. And if you're staying in an Airbnb or you're just going along and staying in some roadside hotels, you never know what you're going to get. It's always a lifesaver. Footwear. Footwear is important. Thongs. Just your normal pair. These ones are Quicksilvers. They'll break after about 1 million steps, I've noticed. I get about 1 million steps out of these, and then they break. And that's purely just through wear and tear. Also, pair of sneakers. I normally wear Merrells if I'm traveling through Europe or Africa. Merrells are the way. They're hardy, and they never let you down. Southeast Asia, I prefer a shoe which breathes a bit more, and in this case, the Black Asics never let me down. Now, a thing that goes with the footwear, of course, enclosed footwear, is the socks. Make sure, I like merino wool socks. Make sure that they're woolen because they will breathe. Don't get really heavy ones if you're going to a place which is warmer, like Southeast Asia. But if you're in Europe, the thicker woolen socks give you a bit more comfort and they'll keep you a little bit more warm. Now, a hat. Don't forget the hat. You don't want to be getting sunburnt. And with the hat, sunglasses. Always handy to have. You're going to want them, especially when you're walking through cities, high glare, or you're walking in the middle of the day, high glare. You're going to want to protect yourself. Now, we're going to Southeast Asia. Depends on the time that you're going, but I always pack one regardless. A Gore-Tex rain jacket. You want it to be waterproof, not water resistant. Gore-Tex material. This is a Helly Hansen. I've had it for 8 years and it's never had a problem. They don't break, they last forever. It's important to get yourself a good Gore-Tex jacket if you're going anywhere. You don't want to be caught out in the rain and not be able to cover yourself up. In saying that, sometimes a bit of rain is nice to cool you down. Moving on to toiletries, this is something which a lot of people have different opinions on what they're going to bring. I always buy deodorant in the country when I arrive and then use it because it's always relatively cheap. Of course, we're going through toothbrush, toothpaste. That's your essentials. I know some places give it to you when you stay as part of the accommodation, but it's important to always have your own. It's a bizarre one, but a spoon, knife, fork, spoon, plastic. It's a lifesaver sometimes. You go up, you buy something off the side of the road to eat, and they don't give you utensils because they assume that they're not selling to foreigners. So sometimes it pays dividends to have your own little bit of cutlery. Eye mask, if you're trying to sleep on a bus, comes in very handy. Bit of moisturizer, especially in Southeast Asia. Our skin's not used to this level of humidity. It's good to prevent it from drying out or being oversaturated. An important one, betadine. Always carry it around. You get blisters on your foot, you need to pop them, cut them open. You want to protect yourself. If you cut yourself, you want to be able to protect yourself straight away. You don't want an infection. And in some places, medical treatment, A, you can't translate properly. B, it might be just too difficult to get a hold of. So it's important to cover yourself. Betadine. You don't need to put a band-aid over it that way. You don't need to bandage it up, but you know that you're okay. Couple of band-aids, never go astray. Now, I carry also a comb, which is a bit ironic, but you never know. It's in there. Soothe bite cream. And so if you're getting irritated from mozzie bites or you have a bite that you don't know what it is and you need to calm it down and stop it from being red and irritated, very handy to get a hold of. You can buy that at your local chemist. A little bit of aftershave. You don't want to be that smelly Westerner. And then we've got broad spectrum amoxicillin, 500 milligram tablets. Now, this is always handy if you come down with a bug, you don't know what it is, but you know that you do need to maybe start a course of antibiotics because you can't identify what it is correctly. That's good to have with you, and it won't do any long-term damage to you. So you can take it, and if you're wrong, okay. But if you notice it helps straight after a couple of days, then continue taking it, of course. But that's not medical advice. You should always see a doctor, and it's up to you at the end of the day. And then, depends on where you're going, anti-malarial tablets. In Cambodia, I do tend to take these. In Laos, yes. Burma, even, yes. Vietnam, I've got to say, I haven't taken malaria tablets. Some doctors will recommend that you do. If you're going up into the jungle regions, then yes, of course, take the malarials. Anti-malarials. Okay, so a lot of people do take GastroStop with them. I would recommend Roxen. Now, you have to see a doctor and see if they think that it's fit for you, but it is pretty much your last resort GastroStop tablet. It does the job when nothing else does. It's really effective. I have luckily never had to use it, but it's there if I ever do need it. And I think that you should really carry something like this if you're just in general, even if your stomach is good at eating street food, you never know. You might brush your teeth on accident with the water and you're throwing up your guts. You want to stop it. And this does the job and buys you a bit of time to get to a doctor if you really do need a bit of help. Earplugs, you never know where you're actually staying. So if it's really noisy, you end up sitting above a city centre and you're trying to sleep, earplugs. Interestingly, Rome was one of the only cities that I've ever had to use these. I was right in the heart of it. It never quietened down. Very handy to have, even if you don't normally wear them. Bit of floss, keep the teeth clean, dental hygiene, it's important. Toothpaste and toothbrush was the first thing I always pack, but floss never goes astray. Now, over here, we'll now be moving into our day pack. What do we bring in our day pack? So, Southeast Asia, I just use a little satchel. It's a relatively safe region, contrary to popular belief, possibly. But satchel's perfectly fine. Never had an issue through pretty much all of Southeast Asia. So, what do we carry in our day pack? Of course, you have to carry your passport with you. I also carry my visa paper for Vietnam, my international driver's license. You never know when you're just gonna, get a scooter. You don't know what you're up to. And it's also just good to have on you as another form of ID. My yellow fever vaccine card, it's not essential in this part of the world. However, carry it with you if you have it. And your passport, very important. Portable charger, because you never know how much you're going to be relying on your map throughout the day, or you might not have been able to charge it last night when you get to a hotel. So it's important to always carry that with you. Cash is important, especially in Southeast Asia. US dollars in conjunction with the local currency. Dong in Vietnam, but it's important to get to know how much things roughly cost in the country, how much a bottle of water is, etc. So here, for example, a big bottle of water, 14,000 dong, which is less than $1 US. It's about $1 AU. But it's important to have small denominations. You don't want to be giving out, a $100 US note. Nowhere's going to take that. You don't need that. And the local currency. Always carry it. And try to pay in the local currency. At the end of the day, it is their currency. When you're going backpacking, it's important to carry a traveling wallet. This one just sits in there. You can leave this one in your pocket, and if it goes missing, it doesn't really matter. It only has maybe your lunch's money in it and a spare bank card. It doesn't really matter. You can leave it in your pocket on accident, but again, pickpocketing, it isn't that common. Never had a problem with it, touch wood. I hope to continue that run, but it's about being sensible when you're in a foreign country. In saying that, I carry all my actual cards and my actual ID, such as my driver's license and my university student card, in my backpack proper. You want it tucked away. You don't want it easy to reach. That's important. 2 wallets. If you do want, you can also just wear a money belt, nice and easy, under your shirt, into your pants. No one's going to grab that. It would be a bit weird. Now, especially when you don't know where you're going exactly, or you're just backpacking around, an ID, a passport size photo, so that you can walk in to an embassy, fill out the visa paper forms, bang. They're always going to want a color passport photo, possibly even 2. So it's important to always carry one of them, especially Southeast Asia, actually anywhere in the world. They love a good visa. Make sure that you can give them everything that they need, and it just makes your visa process more enjoyable. Well, not enjoyable, it's never enjoyable, but more smooth. Of course, charging cables, not necessarily in your day pack, but perfectly fine if you do carry them around. Pen, again, on the visa front, you always want a pen. Just go in, fill it out, makes your life a lot easier. And also airport arrival cards in most countries, or even when you're crossing the border, you might have to sign something or fill out a declaration. Very handy to have your own pen and not have to rely on others. You don't have to carry this in the day pack, but when if we're going for a night walk, I strap this onto my shoulder, just onto the shoulder, and it's my torch. Always carry one around with you. I know that you've got a torch on your phone, but again, if you're going for a night hike or you find yourself walking somewhere where you kind of want a little bit more light at night, torch. Use your torch. Don't be holding your phone out. Definitely a big one. Travel adapter. Of course, I have a few electronics which do just have the correct plug, but it never hurts to bring all 3, I guess the 3 major plugs with you. As you can see, we got 1, 2, 3. EU, UK, USA/Australia. You're going to cover a lot of them. China also uses the Australian plug. EU seems to be the go in Vietnam. A couple of UK ones, but overall perfectly fine. You want a few ports. You want one with a fuse so that if it goes, it'll protect your devices while charging. And then you have a spare fuse on here, you can put it in, and you don't have to worry about frying your phone on some dodgy electrical outlet. Finally, last but not least, it's always important to be able to withdraw cash. Now, you probably want a bank account which is one on the card, one in the savings, so you can move the money over. If the card goes missing, you can lock it. But you also want a spare card, which is either the Visa or the MasterCard. You want to be having both types, and it depends where you are. I have a Wise. I've never had a problem with Wise. Would recommend. It's a spare card. It's a spare Visa. Keep it at the bottom of the bag. If all other payment methods fail or an ATM's not taking my card, I'll give them the Wise card. Okay, so that's what I pack when traveling to Southeast Asia, and I would highly recommend that you do something similar. It works very well. I've done it on multiple trips, and of course you can adjust what you're packing based on the length of your stay, but overall this type of setup can last me 8 days, it can last me 3 weeks, it can last me a month. It will just be about washing the clothes. So, thank you very much for tuning in to The Internationalist today, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.